Welcome back to the deep dive. So, if your organization has just spent a ton of capital and time deploying a new AI tool,
Maybe a big customer service bot or something for your internal teams.
right, and you probably had a big launch party, declared victory, and moved on.
And our source material today would say, hold on, put the cork back in that champagne bottle.
Right.
Viewing that deployment as the finish line is a huge strategic error. It's
Yeah.
really just the start. The real work begins after you flip the switch.
And that's the critical difference we're really digging into today. We're moving beyond that initial excitement of implementation and into the much harder reality of sustained integration.
Exactly.
We're looking at the framework you need for long-term AI success, making sure this tech stays valuable, trustworthy, and actually evolves with your business.
And that success, it really relies on three foundational pillars. If you miss even one, the whole thing can just sort of collapse over time.
And those are
They are proactive education, critical trust building through transparency, and then establishing a really rigorous process for continuous improvement.
And for you, the listener, understanding this framework is basically the shortcut to maximizing your ROI, not just on the tech, but on the whole cultural shift that has to happen.
We want to transform AI from just another tech upgrade into something that's an indispensable part of how you operate.
Okay, let's unpack this. We should start with that foundation, education.
Right.
We often assume that if a tool is easy to use, people will just, you know, get it. But the sources point to a much deeper problem here.
It's uncertainty. It's not about incompetence. It's, I think, a kind of fear.
Fear of what, exactly?
Well, users are curious, but that curiosity is immediately followed by this lack of confidence. They're afraid of making a mistake that impacts a customer, or maybe they just don't know the best way to prompt the system.
Even if they don't feel comfortable.
They just go back to the old way of doing things.
Yep.
And suddenly, that very expensive new AI tool is just sitting there, idle.
And you can't fix that kind of deep-seated uncertainty with, like, one massive mandatory training session.
Oh, absolutely not. The hour-long click through these slides session is a disaster. If the tools are always improving, the training has to be too.
It has to be continuous.
Continuous, bite-sized, and immediately useful. We saw research that organizations using microlearning modules, short videos, guides under 3 minutes, they saw completion rates 60% higher than the old workshops.
Because it fits into your day.
It fits into the workflow, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop the workflow for an hour of learning.
But wait, a skeptic might say, how do you find the time to create all these custom resources? Isn't that just more work for an IT team that's already stretched thin?
That's the key, though. It's not just about teaching features. You have to tailor the education to specific user groups.
Okay, give me an example.
Think about frontline staff versus a manager. The frontline person needs to know how the AI handles an angry customer query right now. They need quick troubleshooting.
Got it. High pressure.
Whereas a senior manager needs to know how to interpret a complex report the AI generated. What were the data sources? What's the confidence interval? The training has to answer, how does this tool solve my specific problem?
So training gets them comfortable with the tool, but comfort is not the same as trust.
Not at all.
If your team is using it but then secretly double-checking every single output by hand, you haven't really won.
You've just created more work.
Which brings us right to that second essential pillar, trust and transparency. How do we actually build that confidence?
It is the absolute critical factor. The users have to be confident the system produces reliable results without compromising data privacy or the integrity of their decisions.
If they think it's a black box, they're not going to stake their professional reputation on what it spits out.
Never. And that's where transparency becomes the key that unlocks the trust.
So it's about explaining not just what the AI decided, but how it got there.
Yes. For example, instead of just a number, the output could say something like, AI generated this forecast based on recent sales data and Q1 supply chain disruptions.
That one sentence gives you context. Traceability.
And that transparency needs to be visible at every single stage, from the data coming in to the final output. If users understand the logic, they're so much more likely to trust it.
And this is where it got really interesting for me in the source material. The idea of providing options for a human override.
Yes, this is huge.
It's not just a security blanket, it's an active trust builder. It says, we see this AI as a tool to augment your judgment, not replace it.
Precisely. Empowering a user to say, hang on, my experience tells me I need to adjust this recommendation, that's profound.
It keeps the human in the loop.
But critically, that override isn't just a safety net, it's a data capture moment.
Okay, explain that. How does a human making an adjustment actually feed back into the system?
This is the vital link. It connects our trust pillar to the next one, continuous improvement. Every time a user hits that override, that action should be logged, labeled, and ideally fed right back into the training model.
So the human adjustment becomes a new high-value data point for the machine.
Exactly. You create this mutual learning loop. The system is constantly being refined by your most experienced human operators.
That makes it so much more dynamic. Okay, so we've got educated users who trust the system because they can see the logic and have final control.
Right.
But if that system just stays static, it could become obsolete almost immediately.
It will.
Which gets us to the third pillar, continuous improvement. Why is just stopping not an option here?
Because your business isn't static. Your customers, your data, the market, it's all changing. If the AI doesn't adapt, its quality will degrade over time. It's a phenomenon called model drift.
So you have to be constantly tracking key metrics.
Diligently. You have to measure success and proactively spot those areas where it's starting to degrade.
What are we actually tracking? For an AI assistant, for instance, what are the key numbers?
The sources list a few essentials. First, daily active users, or DAU. Just a simple gauge of engagement.
Are people even logging in?
Exactly. But more importantly, task completion rates. Is the AI actually solving the user's problem successfully? Response times are also critical for performance. And then user sentiment, usually from short, quick surveys.
So what if you see, say, the task completion rate start to drop, but the DAU, the number of users, stays high? What does that tell you?
That's a great sign of a deep problem. It means people are trying to use the tool, but it's failing them. Maybe the interface is confusing or it's not solving the right problem. You can then analyze those patterns and fix the issue before it leads to mass frustration.
And that ties right into the power of feedback loops.
It does. All that data from the overrides, from the surveys, it gives you invaluable input.
And lets the teams refine interfaces, add features people are asking for.
Or just adjust workflows. But the cultural benefit here is a huge sense of ownership. Employees see their feedback leading directly to real improvements in a tool they use every day. That's an incredibly powerful motivator for them to keep using it and keep offering feedback.
It's a virtuous cycle. And it all kind of depends on leadership fostering a culture of experimentation, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. You want your teams looking for new ways to use the AI, and you need leadership to celebrate those wins openly. That's what keeps the innovation engine running.
But none of these three pillars, education, trust, or continuous improvement, they won't stand up on their own, will they?
Not without the scaffolding. And that scaffolding is sustained, visible leadership commitment.
The source material was really clear on this. Without top-down endorsement, the whole thing will probably fail.
It's not just about writing the check at the start. It's about sustaining that commitment for years.
So what specific actions should leaders be taking? It's more than just saying, I support AI, right?
Oh, much more. They need to weave it into the company's operational DNA.
So practically, what does that look like?
It means regularly communicating the success stories from the AI initiatives. It means publicly recognizing the teams who are excelling at using the tools.
Making it visible.
Yes. And allocating a real budget for ongoing training. Most importantly, it means embedding continuous improvement goals for the AI right into the company's strategic planning. It needs to be part of the P&L review, not some side project.
When you cultivate that kind of environment where learning is constant and transparency builds trust, the whole organization becomes more resilient.
Right, resilient against stagnation, which is vital when the tech is evolving so quickly.
So to bring it all together.
What it all means is when you combine these three pillars with that leadership support, you finally realize the AI's full potential. The tools continuously streamline workflows and actually improve decision-making.
The ultimate goal, then, is to seamlessly weave AI into the very fabric of daily work. You're turning that initial launch day enthusiasm into lasting, resilient engagement that drives real productivity.
And here's a final thought for you to take away, based on the source materials.
Okay. Most effective education and transparency programs. They don't just create users who do the bare minimum, they create advocates, people who will champion further adoption organically, on their own.
Users versus advocates.
Right. So the question to ask yourself is, if your strategy is focused only on the tech, and it neglects the culture needed for these three pillars, are you creating users or are you creating advocates? And which one is actually more sustainable for your future growth?
A great question to think about as you move your AI strategy beyond launch day. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We encourage you to explore these concepts further.